Hello, y'all, and welcome to today's episode of Real, the Unedited Life of a Christian Woman. I'm Haley, I'm your host, and today we're going to be talking about Christian women and side hustles. So, I had planned on doing a different episode, but it was not speaking to me tonight, and so I thought I have to do one that I'm gonna, that's on my mind. And for some reason today, that is side hustles. So in my life, I have done a lot of different side hustles, and mostly that's because of Dave Ramsey. I've followed Dave Ramsey for probably, I'd say, over a decade now, maybe going on 2 decades. And I think I have said before that I am more ish than I am strict Dave Ramsey. But one of the things that he is big on is to increase your income. In increasing your income, that will help you get out of debt, pay off your debts. That will help you in many ways. And so side hustles come into play there. And so because you can grow your income with side hustles. So when I talk about side hustles, what am I talking about? I'm talking about anything on the side, aside from your full time job or whatever you do normally, that's going to bring in additional money. Okay. So that could be, for me, that looks like, so I have my full-time job. I also have another little side gig I can do online where I do visits and I get paid money to do these visits, okay? So it's called a 1099 position, and that just means that um they don't take taxes out of that. So I have to withhold taxes on my own and pay the government those taxes. So it's kind of like if you don't feel like you're going to be financially responsible enough to hold out your own taxes to pay those to the state and federal government on your own, then 1099 work is not for you because you're going to end up in a world of hurt at the end of the year when you have to pay the government a lot of money because you spent that money throughout the year. Another story. Anyway, so side hustles for me looks like that. But I have done a lot of things along the way. I have dipped my toe in so many different things. Some of you probably know that I have sold Leah Sophia jewelry at one point. So direct sales has been something that I've been involved in. There were many direct sales things that did not work out. Leah Sophia jewelry did. I was actually a manager with Leah Sophia jewelry. So, I worked that business and was profitable with that business. Anything that you do that you're successful in my opinion, is going to require some hard work. You see these people out there on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook, whatever it is, and it looks like their success came easily, quickly, but I guarantee you the majority of those people have put in a lot of work that you don't see toward their success. Every now and then you'll get somebody who, gets lucky and there's a lot of success there that came easily. But the vast majority of people is slow and steady wins the race, consistency wins the race, and it's taken them a while to get there. Okay. So Leah Sophia Jewelry direct sales, I did that. But before I did Leah Sophia in direct sales, I don't even know how many different starter kits I purchased from the time I was like in my early 20s till the time I did Leah Sophia. I think one time I think I did Mary Kay at one time. I did something called Color Me Beautiful at one time. It was a makeup company. Um, but I think the difference with, like the Mary Kay, the Color Me Beautiful, those things that I did, I purchased those starter kits, but I wasn't willing to like do the business, right? So I would purchase it and I would get out all my stuff and I would look at it and I had my kit, but it was when you had to write down the 10 names of people that are going to host your first parties. And I thought, I ain't asking any of my friends to host a party for me because I thought to myself, like, I wouldn't want to be asked to host a party. So why am I going to ask somebody else to host a party? Like, so when I did Color Me Beautiful, when I did Mary Kay, I was not like in it. Like I just wanted the people to come to me and I would sell them the whatever, the makeup, and then I would make money off of it, right? Like the customers were just going to come. They were just going to know that I was selling this and that it was going to be great. And I was going to bill like whatever. No. So I finally realized with Leah Sophia Jewelry that it takes work, right, to be successful. And so I had to overcome my fear of asking others to do things like, would you be willing to host a party? Would you, and I had to call people and I had to message people and I had to have parties and I had to play games at parties and I had to get other people to host parties. I had to recruit to build my team. And some of that stuff is uncomfortable and you have to get out of your comfort zone and be willing to do that in order to be successful in different things. So for direct sales for me took time, it took building, but it can be done, but it is not easy. It is work, okay? And there's some people that have a gift for it, and then there are others who just don't, and that's okay. It may not be your cup of tea. So one way that you can make money on the side is direct sales. But let me tell you, it is tough, okay? You have to be willing to work. You have to be willing to talk to people. You have to be willing to call people and step outside your comfort zone maybe, okay? So that was one thing I did. I'm trying to think, what else have I done on the side? I can't think of anything else at the moment. Maybe something will come to mind because I feel like there is something. But we can go ahead and talk about other side hustles that are out there that you can do. You think about your talents. That's another thing I want to talk about. Think about your talents. What has God blessed you with? What talents do you have? How can you use those talents to either serve him or make money or both, right? So, um, guys that are good at construction or building may be able to build something and sell it at local markets or sell it on Facebook or sell it on, whatever. They may have an online store they can do. Um, that's another thing. You may be very crafty. So you could come up with a product and sell it on Etsy. That's one thing that I will say that we did. Ella, my daughter, and I, she wanted to make money. And so she got into making clay earrings. Okay. Fairly inexpensive to make. And that's important when you're doing a side hustle, that if you have a product that it doesn't cost a lot to make that product. So the product itself is cheap to make, but it's quality product and you can sell it for more and make a profit. So for her, we had a shop on Etsy and it was called Soul Shine, I think, and it's not there anymore. She kind of got burnt out with it, but she was really good at it. She made clay earrings. And a lot of times it's important to do what separates you from others. Why is it a customer's going to want to buy from you and not someone else? So for her, that was she didn't have her ears pierced at the time. And so she did clip on earrings. And there weren't a whole lot of people on Etsy doing homemade clip on earrings. And so she did that. And she found some success in that. I think she was making at least, I'd say, $500 plus a month sometimes. I mean, I think she got up to maybe 1,000. I don't know. I mean, she had a decent amount of sales in these earrings, and she learned a lot about business. She learned about customer service. She learned about unhappy customers. It was quite an experience. So Etsy is a good platform if you have like a quality product, something that is creative, something that you have handmade, those sorts of things. So that's another thing. Oh, another side hustle. I knew there was different things. I have gotten into so many things, you guys. At one point, I decided that I was going to do like leather working. So I never did really sell anything with that, but it was a hobby that I kind of got into. And so I bought all the supplies to make leather products. And so I know a little bit about that now. And it's actually not as hard as you would think. But that was fun. So that was a side hustle. And if I had wanted to continue doing that, I could have and sold products on Etsy. My problem is a lot of times I get burnt out with things and then I quit, right? I think we all do that. But we have to remember that consistency is key. For example, tonight, honestly, I didn't want to record this podcast. I didn't. I was tired. I was grumpy. I was grouchy. I had a long day. I was just tired and grouchy and I didn't want to do it. But I said, you know what? I said I was going to do a weekly episode. I'm going to do a weekly episode. So we're going to do this and we're going to see how it goes. Okay. So it's important with side hustles that you don't spend more than you bring in. They've got to be profitable. So you have to think about that too. I'll say another thing that I learned on my own was how to build a website. I've been very along the way. I'd say even since 2000, probably 2006, 2005, somewhere around in there, I've really kind of educated myself along the way in bits and pieces of how to make money online or how to build a website, how to do those sorts of things. And so over time, I've learned a lot about those things. So our business is called the Furry Farmhouse. We have a dog boarding business. For those of you who don't know, we are in Kentucky, and I built the website for that business. It was a labor of love, and it took a lot of hard work and a lot of learning. I do not know how many hours I put into that. It's not perfect. It's not the best website you'll ever see, but it's pretty good, I think, and it gets the job done. So, you know, that's another side hustle to make money online is to be able to build websites, to be able to have a product, to be able to content writing. That's another thing you can make money doing online. Search engine optimization. There's so much there. And then I'll say another side hustle that came to mind was one that some Dave Ramsey followers do. It is and I don't know if it's available anymore. For a while, it was easy to get into, and for a while, it was kind of they stopped hiring, but it was teaching online. You were teaching, I think, English to children in another country. And they paid pretty well. I think it was at the time, a few years ago, around $20 an hour, maybe. And you can make your own hours. And I cannot remember the name of the company. But if you will look on Facebook, there are different groups on Facebook, like Dave Ramsey groups. Join those Facebook groups. There are so many ideas on there for side hustles. People are amazing in what they can do on the side. So in talking about side hustles, we kind of talk about personal finances and debt that America has got themselves into. It's been tough lately with inflation and with the prices of everything. I mean, we have housing prices that went through the roof a couple years ago. Interest rates have been through the roof. They're just now coming down some. We have apparently credit card debt in America like no other currently, like uh, no other time in history. It sounds like to me from what I've heard. Have we had families with credit card debt this high? And the interest rates on those credit cards are really high. And so it makes you think about how are we making it month to month? Food prices have increased. I just heard today that like egg prices, just eggs have gone up a ton because of the bird flu. And so you can't find eggs. And when you do find eggs, they're really expensive. So it's really hard for Americans right now to make ends meet. And so you have to think about how can I make extra money for my family? And so full-time job aside from that, there's just part-time work available, right? So getting a part-time job. And I've always kind of shied away from that just because, I'm gone enough from my family. I don't want to be gone any more than I have to be. So I've always tried to find like things that I can do from home. And I will say this also, there are more opportunities to work from home now than you may realize. I will say in the medical space as well, there are a lot of opportunities. Medical assistants, you guys may not realize it, but you could probably work from home if you look for jobs like on Indeed, on LinkedIn, on just different places. There are lots of medical assistant jobs. I won't say lots, but I haven't looked lately. But these companies like that I work for hire medical assistants to work from home. But when I say work from home, don't get the impression that you're like just kick back on your couch, drinking coffee, watching TV and working and getting a paycheck. You're not. Like it is work. If it's a reputable company, you're going to be working. So, it's one of those things like if you see me on YouTube right now, I'm sitting at my desk where I call it my cloffice. Like you can literally see the clothes hanging in my closet behind me. So this room is a multi-purpose room. It's a large closet that I turned into. It was originally set up to be an office, but when we purchased the house, it was somebody had turned it into a closet. They'd already had all of the the stuff on the wall, to hang things, and I was like, "You know what? I always wanted a walk-in closet, so it's gonna be my closet." But as the years go by, I put a desk in here, and so it's turned into a multi-purpose room called my cloffice, okay? So within my cloffice, I have it's multifunctional, right? So if you're going to work from home, you're going to have a space to work. You're going to have a space where people will leave you alone. And even still, I have this space and I close my door and I'm interrupted numerous times a day by family members, and it can be very distracting and it can be very overwhelming sometimes, because I see patients throughout the day. Every 20 minutes, a patient, a patient, a patient, a patient. So if somebody's knocking on my door, it gets annoying and gets to be a lot. So just make sure you have a space within your home to work from home if that's what you choose to do. And then, like, I've got everything in here, y'all. I've got, of course, it's my closet. I've got, now my kids call me bougie for this. I've got a refrigerator in here. It's kind of like a medium size refrigerator, but it's one of those cute green mint Frigidaire. It's like a fridge and a freezer. And I've got my little magnets on it that places where we've been on vacation. And I've got a bulletin board in here that has like pictures of family up on the wall. And then I've also got my clothes in here hanging up. I've got purses and backpacks, and I've got a printer, and I've got my podcasting equipment, as you can see. And so I've done a lot to this small space, and but I love it. Okay. It's very functional for me. Use what you have. That's another thing. Like, use what you have. You would be amazed to see what people can do, like on Pinterest and stuff, with small spaces. When I'm trying to think of something to do with a space and make the most out of it, like make it useful as well as, stylish or whatever, sometimes I'll go on Pinterest and look at and think about what people do with these New York City apartments. I mean, talk about making use of space. They have tiny apartments and they live in these one room apartments, and they're small. Now, I had a one room apartment when I was in Nashville going to Vanderbilt, that I stayed in, and it was a studio. It had a bedroom, and it had like a half kitchen, and it had a bathroom, and that was it. It was like 400 square feet. I mean, it was small, right? But, you can make it work. So that's what I say. Find a job where you can work from home, find a space that works for you, and go for it. The goal is to spend less money, not more. And it took me a long time to realize that, y'all. I was all about spending the money to make the money. And they do say, sometimes it takes money to make money, but be careful about that because you can get into trouble with that. The less, the better, right? So, money you make with side hustles is supposed to go toward, I mean, I guess theoretically you can put it toward whatever you want to put it toward. But if you're following Dave Ramsey, his whole idea is that the money you make with a side hustle, you're going to put toward debt, right? He has the baby steps. So, I would have to look up the baby steps. One is like save $1,000 in emergency fund. Two is pay off all your debt. Three is build a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. But, his big thing is pay off debt so you have money, right? And you're not tied up in a bunch of debt. So side hustles for us have always been about doing that. And sometimes, I mean, I'm human. I get sidetracked. I'm like, oh, I've got extra money. I'm going to go buy X, Y, or Z. And then I'm like, later, I'm like, why did I do that? Like, I just set myself back, is all I did. But I also try to remember that I'm human and we make mistakes, and that's okay. In thinking about side hustles, I think it also comes into play about being a wife and mom, but also working, right? Being a wife and mother, I have been a stay at home mom. I have been a work at home mom. I have been a working mom out of the house. I have worked full time. I have worked part time. I have done side hustles. I've done a little bit of everything. It is hard I think every woman is different in what she wants, and that is okay. We are human. We are different. We are all made differently. And so, stay at home moms may not want a side hustle. A work at home mom may not want a side hustle. You have that whole there's that whole mentality, at least for me, of like, I'm constantly pulled between work and family. And I think many, many women feel that out there. And sometimes it's all we can do to get through our regular job to be able to spend time with our family. But then there are also times where we find ourselves struggling to pay the bills and we feel like we have to do something extra. And that is a struggle. But if we find ourselves in that spot and we have to do something else, I just want you to know that there are options. There's part time work, there's work from home, there's computer things you can do. And it is not fun being away from family. It's not. When I did Leah Sophia, I stayed home with the kids and I would go out at night and do parties or whatever at someone else's home. And part of that was fun for me just to get out of the house and be away and have a reason to dress up and be with other, adult women. That was fun. But another part of me sometimes it was very hard because my kids didn't want me to leave, right? When I got home, they might be in the bed. And so that's tough. You always have this pull. And I just think that's a very important thing to touch on, especially from a Christian standpoint, because I think sometimes Christian women, we value family. We value where is this family headed? We want to keep our family on the straight and narrow. We want everybody to love the Lord and to grow up in a way and manner that they're going to serve him in the future and choose good spouses at some point and families that love the Lord. And so when you're trying to balance all of this, it's tough because number one, above anything else, is that we serve the Lord and we do what he would want us to do. Sometimes that's not always a clear answer. Like I may feel like being a stay-at-home mom is what I need to do, but I may not be able to do that financially. And so that's hard. I guess I just want to validate feelings out there that that's normal, that's okay. Everybody is different and it's tough. It's tough right now financially and being a Christian wife, mother, whatever right now is it's just hard because, you're trying to balance all of these things and trying to do the best you can and it's not always comfortable. It's not always easy. It's not always the way we thought life would look. I encourage you to pray about it. Don't know what God's plan is for us. I wish we did. I had somebody say the other day that they just wished God or Jesus would sit down at the table with them and tell them, this is what your life is supposed to look like. These are the decisions that I want you to make, and this is where we're going. But we don't have that. We pray about it. We pray that he leads us to make the right decisions and do the right things, and we trust in him. And just know that maybe your life is really hard right now, and you cannot imagine why God would let you go through something like you're going through now. But there may be things on the other side of this struggle or whatever this is right now that are far better than you can imagine. Maybe God is using this struggle to teach you something. Maybe God is using this struggle to help you teach others in the future. We just don't know. And it's hard to see that in the midst of a struggle, in the midst of a situation that's really hard. You just sometimes want to cry out to God and say, why me? Why am I going through this? We can't always see what he sees. So we have to trust in him and know that it's for a reason, it's for a purpose. In Jeremiah 29:11, God says, I know the plans I have for you, plans for a hope and a future. I think sometimes when I am struggling, I can find some peace in that I know that God's got this. sometimes if I get myself all worked up, I step back for a minute and I go, just breathe, Haley. Wait a minute. Think about this. God has you. He's got you. It's okay. Like what you're going through right now, He's got this. And so it really does calm me down in that moment to just think, just breathe. Like this is not as big of a deal as you think it is. God has got you. He's got this. And I want to tell you that as well, that whatever it is you're going through, whatever it is that is difficult right now, just know that He has you. Okay. Just pray about it. Try to think about the big picture. In the big scheme of things, this situation may be really tough, but it's temporary. And sometimes situations are not temporary, sometimes they're permanent. And that's when it's really tough. I've been through some of those too. And maybe the loss of a loved one. Still, God's got you, God's got this. And even still, He is good, right? You will have seen that. I feel like this podcast has been a little all over the place tonight. You know, we've talked about finances, we talked about side hustles, we talked about God's plans for us, we've talked about a lot of different things. Today is one of those days where I felt like it's been an interesting day, a day that I didn't really feel like podcasting, but you know what? Consistency is important, and every podcast is not going to be perfect. And the title of the podcast is real. And this is real, y'all. I mean, every podcast is not going to be outstanding, but you got to keep going. You got to keep doing, you got to keep keeping on, right? So I hope, if nothing else, that you've gotten something out of this, that I've encouraged you in some way. And I hope that you all have a wonderful week. Thank you so much for listening today to Real, the Unedited Life of a Christian Woman. Make sure you like the Facebook page, follow the Facebook page. It's called Real with Haley. You can find it on Facebook. Thanks everyone again for joining in today. I hope this has been useful for you. And if you need anything, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to answer questions, anything that I can on Facebook. Again, that's Real with Haley. And feel free to reach out. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye.